落ちた競合飛べないカラス
What's up, it's Blackwing here, and in today's video we're gonna talk about the new ban list that just took effect on Master Duel, basically banning Pot of Prosperity, meaning that you can no longer play it, and limiting PSY-Framegear Gamma. And basically with PSY-Framegear Gamma limited, is it anymore worth it to play the PSY-Frame driver, that one brick? Maybe not. So we're gonna talk about what to play instead of these cards in your deck if you earlier played this. So let's jump into a little bit of a history lesson first, what these cards did in the first place in your deck and why they were so highly represented in almost any deck. So Pot of Prosperity was one of the best consistency cards in the game, basically, and what made this really great was that you could choose that if you banish 3 or 6 from the X deck, and you could see 3 or 6 cards from the top of the deck. So meaning that if you started with a little bit of a poorer hand, you could basically banish 6 cards from your X deck if your extra deck supported it, and then you could see more cards from the top of the deck. And what made this card insane was that it didn't just work on like starters and extenders, it basically worked also on board breakers and hand traps, meaning that if you already had everything in your hand, you had full combo, you could just activate Pot of Prosperity and, you know, get that max C into your hand or something similar, which made this card just insanely good. And obviously for cards or decks that want to go second, you know, this was also a really good card. And one thing that was also kind of risky with this card was that the opponent almost had to play Ash Blossoms on this, because that's just how good of a card this is. So that's Pot of Prosperity. Then let's jump into PSY-Framegear Gamma. And PSY-Framegear Gamma was one of my favorite hand traps or cards in the game overall, because it was so flexible and it was really showcasing your opponent's skill. So for example, did your opponent just shotgun max C in the standby phase, you know, then you could just PSY-Framegear Gamma that and you get already 2 bodies on the field basically for free. So basically a really good opponent always played true Gamma in such a way that they let you play some cards first, so that Gamma was no longer alive before they max it, for example. On top of Gamma just not negating your opponent Ash Blossoms and max Cs and whatever when you're playing spell cards to search cards or something similar, Gamma also was one of the best cards when going second, because just like Effect Veiler, it negates an effect, it also destroys the card just as Ghost Ogre. So basically meaning that you negate the effect and then you destroy the card, which is just like super great. Obviously it comes with that little bit of a brick that you have to play. You have to play the PSY-Frame driver in the deck for it to work. But if you play an engine or cards that can discard cards from the hand when going first, such as Small Worlds or some cards just that discards cards in general, you can play this engine and it's just really great, because it basically turns Gamma into hand traps when going second, and then like Call by the Grave and Crossout Designators when going first, because you can basically play the Gamma on your opponent's hand traps that try to prevent you from playing, which is just awesome. So let's jump into some replacing cards then. So just as I said that you could basically play Gamma as your Call by the Grave or Crossout Designator, if you did not already play them, you could now basically drop the 2 Gammas and the 1 driver to play 2 Call by the Grave and 1 Crossout Designator if you, for example, want to play more when going first, you know, really kind of negating those opponent's hand traps when going first, which you could use Gamma on as well. On top of this, if you want to have this kind of flexibility that works when you're going first and when going second, you could actually just play triple tactic talents, like multiple of that card, because it's almost the closest to Gamma. Obviously it's not a monster, so you cannot like play it with Small World or something like that, but triple tactic talents I think is the closest to a Gamma, because it works both on like your turn when you're going first. You can, you know, obviously draw those 2 cards or watch your opponent's hand and rip 1 card from there. And then when going second, it's almost like a board breaker as well as Gamma. But if you want to take Gammas out from the main deck and play some kind of a hand traps instead of that, that you only want to focus on when you're going second, I would highly suggest playing Effect Veilers. Those are highly represented right now in the meta game. And basically it's like the Gamma without the brick, but then again it doesn't destroy the card, which is a little bit lackluster, but it's still kind of okay. You could also play Ghost Ogre, which doesn't negate the card, but it destroys it, so a little bit worse in my opinion. And then the third card, you could play like Bestials instead of it. You could play Magnamuth and Druisworm, which is obviously kind of nice. So those are cards I would replace my Gammas and drivers with if I wouldn't already play some of these cards in my main deck already. So So for Pot of Prosperity, it's a lot harder because no card basically does the exact same, and Pot of Prosperity was just so splashable into almost any deck, and so there's really no card that could easily kind of take Pot of Prosperity's place. I would say Triple Tactic Talents is the closest one when I'm looking at like cards that could do basically potentially the same thing, but then again they're a lot different in my opinion after all. But no card is like close to how flexible Pot of Prosperity was. When I'm looking at cards to replace Pot of Prosperity with, you could just go with the Triple Tactic Talents, but you could also go with cards if you play like Black Wings or more dark decks. You could go with cards such as Allure of Darkness. So basically in Black Wings it's really good because obviously you play so much darks, and if you, for example, replace the Gammas with Bestials, you know, you have a little bit more darks, and then for example in Black Wings if you put one Auster in the deck, it can turn your Allure of Darkness basically into a Pot of Greed, because you draw 2, then you banish, like, let's say, any Blackwing, then you summon Auster from the hand, and then you can special summon back the banished Blackwing, and if it's a level 4, you already have Kali Yuga combo, if that is what you wish to do with the deck. So that's pretty neat. Another card that only Winge Beasts have is a Swallow's Cowrie, basically a really nice kind of like small world-ish card. The only negative about this card is that it's obviously cost to send the card to the graveyard, meaning that if it hits by an Ash, then it's not that great, because obviously Small World, if you play Small World and your opponent Ash that, you can still keep the card in your hand. It doesn't get banished face down. But with Swallow's Cowrie, it's a little bit different story, because in that card, or on that card, it's already the cost to send the card to the graveyard, which is not that nice. But that's like, there's no really cards such as Pot of Prosperity, which makes just Pot of Prosperity one of a kind of a card. But yeah. Let me know in the comment section below, what did you replace Pot of Prosperity and the Gammas with if you played those cards. And if you want to support the channel, you can become a Blackwing Master Tier member to access exclusive member-only videos, updates on my Blackwing decks, and you will also get access to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Optimizer program that will take your deck building skills to the next level. So what are you waiting for? Become a Blackwing Master Tier member from the link in the description down below. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'm out.
それでも一人じゃなくなったあいつは強いよ。